right, as we move into the final part of today's program, we turn our attention now to the organizations that are delivering the sovereign cloud solutions and supporting customers as they navigate increasingly complex regulatory, security, and operational requirements. The demand for sovereign cloud services continues to grow across both the public and the private sectors, raising important questions around resilience, control, transparency, and trust. To explore these issues, it's my pleasure to now welcome our next panel with moderator Joe Bagley, Chief Technology Officer and Field Sales EMEA at Broadcom, and he will be joined by Kenneth Lund, Business Area Manager, Hybrid Cloud at ATEA, Katharina Cordes, Product Director, Enterprise Cloud Development at plusserver, Peter Melina, Lead Business Development Manager and Cloud Services at Vivicta, Roger Samdal, Agency Director, Hybrid Cloud at Soprasteria, and finally Moritz Kaczmarek, Business and Customer Development at OEDIV. Let's welcome them all on stage and wishing you a fruitful conversation.
Cool. Thank you. All right, I think a lot of people are still trying to come back in, so we'll take our seats. I get the biggest panel of the day.
Congratulations.
All right, fine. So, look, we've had a lot of theory so far today. A lot of people talking about CADA, which very much is a proposal and has a long way to go. There's, lots of conversations about the future development of chips and software and everything else in Europe. But what I have arrayed on the stage with me right here is some service providers that are already delivering sovereign cloud services, that are already guiding customers through that rather complex journey at the moment of understanding what their needs are and how those needs can be met by service providers. And what I really want to achieve in this panel is to understand some reality. Oh, I thought so. I don't know, I'm deaf, so I can't hear whether our microphone's working or not. I actually am. I was going to fiddle with me for a bit. You could hear me anyway, right? I spent long enough in the army to know that. So, are we still working on it? This is quite intimate. So, is that working now? No. We did test it before I came on stage. No. All right. We'll carry on. So, what I want to achieve in this is really to get to the bottom of what people are actually doing in the ground, what the demand is in Europe, and the conversations you're having. And so, realistically, I think, we can all sit there and look at scared at, we need to have sovereign this, sovereign that. But the reality is there's a conversation that goes on with the customer about what their needs are. And I think ideally I'd like to start with you, Katharina, on this one, if I can, as to sort of what's the journey you go through with customers on workload placement? We hear very much the right thing to think about is right workload, right place, whether that's on-prem, in the public cloud, and then levels of sovereignty. What are those conversations you're having with customers around that? And equally, we'll go to everyone else as we go through this conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. Welcome back from the short break. Since the debates around sovereignty are shifting, they shift from abstract policy goals more and more towards operational realities. Our clients and their clients, they try to understand where to do the invests into infrastructure to add value to products or business models and not over-architect infrastructure where it's not needed.
Okay. So is that in terms of them on-prem, avoiding building their own stuff? Is that where they're coming to in the first place?
Some of them, yes. Some of them have like on-prem infrastructure. Some workloads are maybe at a hyperscalers. Some are already in a cloud, and that makes this cloud or sovereign cloud journey so complex. And that's where I think is a good consultancy needed from like providers, but also there are like other players in the market that do like consultancy on evaluation what workloads are more sensitive, what are business critical and how to save them and secure them.
So, Moritz, are you seeing the same here? Are you seeing where people are starting to say they're looking and evaluating their existing workloads and relocating them? And is there moving around going on? Are people coming back from hyperscalers? Are people going to sovereign cloud from on-prem? Or is it just new workloads people are landing?
It's also new workloads, also existing workloads. What we're experiencing is basically the same as Katharina is experiencing in our customer journey. As the question goes more and more towards which kind of workload has to be hosted in a private cloud location or an on-prem location in a German data center, for example, and what kind of workload is able to be hosted at a hyperscaler. So sensitive data evaluation and what kind of workload can be there and what can be there. And so we have a hybrid operationing model behind it.
And a hybrid's a fairly strong word in what you're doing as well at the end there, Roger. So how do you see this play out for them? It's not everything goes in one sovereign cloud for your customers either. How do you help them through that journey?
Hybrid is the new normal. No, it's we're trying to again take a consultative approach here, understanding the customer's need from a services perspective, and there's no black and white. We believe in utilizing what we call the cloud continuum. Everything from the hyperscaler all the way down through sovereign clouds, private cloud, air-gapped clouds, and the edge, building a solution that the customer needs, basically.
So you mentioned edge there as well, and that's coming in. We haven't had edge mentioned at all so far today, and you're the first one to mention it. Is that a hot topic amongst all of you? Are customers talking about edge with you, or is it much more about something else?
Absolutely, yeah. Hello, everyone. Absolutely, the edge is the matter because there you have quite a value in regards to the AI, yeah. And if you think about automation in a factory or IoT and all these things, there is a technical aspect which could be kind of an operation model around on the side, but also the latency and all these things, yeah. And there, the utilization of rather smaller models compared to what is generally perceived as an AI, which is the large model, is quite a matter these days for the clients, and the placement in the edge infrastructure certainly matters, yeah.
And it's interesting you mentioned AI there, because AI, funnily, has not been mentioned as much as I thought it would be so far today. We spent an awful lot of time on CADA and on European Commission frameworks, et cetera. We've not been talking much about the thing that's driving all this. Yeah. And Kenneth, I'd like to come to you with that one. I mean, we talked about small language models, large language models. Are you seeing a big driver from AI in your business and what's going on there? Is that a focus for what you're doing going forwards?
Yeah, so we see a lot of customers requiring to run AI workloads, both in private environments, but also in hyperscalers and stuff like that. But and that's why we've also built these capabilities into our sovereign clouds across the Nordics.
So when you're going out and talking, I'll ask this to all of you, you can jump in when ready now. When you're out talking to customers about their future workloads and their current needs, are you seeing them moving stuff to sovereign because of they want to run away from American hyperscalers? Are you seeing them doing it for cost? Are you seeing them doing it for locality? What are the reasons why people are coming to you for sovereign clouds? Is it just protectionist, or is there other reasons too?
I think it's a combination of all the factors, and in Nordics, it is quite sensitive because of the geopolitics as well. Yeah. When you consider Greenland and the situation, the Denmark, you have quite a type when Sweden and Finland were recently just joining NATO, the Norway and the stand against the EU. So that's a strong aspect which is driving the sovereignty discussion there. Yeah. And which is bringing the clients to the cloud partners there, cloud providers for a solutioning. And I like the answer that it's not black and white. You will not just pick up one suit all scenario, one magic box which is safe, which is going to save your day. It's more about building a resilient strategy, and it's more about putting the right solution on the right place.
Roger.
We've seen this developing over several years, actually. It started off with uncertainty with laws and regulations. Can we move things to the cloud? Because of the uncertainty, they're looking for a local provider. That sort of started the business way before it was called the sovereign cloud for many years ago. And then it was the need for resilient solutions. Many of us are from the Nordics here. Yeah. I used to say we are surrounded by sea and sharing a border with Russia. So there's also an uncertainty if the connection to the rest of Europe is lost. Can we still produce necessary IT services from within the country? So that is also a necessity. And the last now thing on the table is the dependency on the large hyperscalers. Should we start utilizing local providers to balance that? So it's been building up over time.
Additionally to that, I think that during the last 2 or 1.5 years, AI itself became a driver because companies use AI to create data products, and that's part of their company asset. So to keep that safe and secure becomes also a business risk additionally to this all things we already had before. So AI itself pushes the need for sovereignty, the product, the data products that are created.
But also about the availability, and we don't need to go far, right? Last week news about the availability of a certain specific model coming from the United States. Yeah. That's an explicit example where the local hosting and local operations makes double sense. Because if you put a bet on development of a specific solution over AI, and you actually start building it in the core of your business, right? Yeah. Then you need to make sure that your operations and the model availability itself is part of your resiliency plan, 100%.
All right. This is something that we see a lot as well.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
It's very polite.
But also to come back to your original question, why some customers go back from the hyperscaler towards the sovereign cloud provider. From our experience, it's also because they when they move to a local provider, like you said, they have some people they can meet, they have a data center they can visit, they have something to put their mind on and put their focus on, and not just a service center in India and a data center they will never see in their lives. That's some part of it also, that they realizing the value in having a local provider which I can talk to, which I can drive to, which I can have a physical meeting with, and just have a personal connection with. That's what we are experiencing also, kind of the whole picture.
And I think we can, that's a very good point, we can confirm it all. During today, you heard the complexity, from regulation to technology to operations and all these aspects. And I don't want to scare anyone, but for critical infrastructure, complex projects, it can get complex. From a solution which used to be there for years and was convenient for everyone, and right now it's changing. And it's changing in a matter how you operate it, but also on the skills level, the people who operate it. So it's obviously much more comfortable to speak with someone who is your native, speaking the same language, and it's about the business velocity. Also, these people in the region, they understand the specific nuances for the business, and as we said, there are quite representatives from the Nordics region, and I think we can all agree that despite its Nordics region, there is a difference in Norway, Sweden, Finland. People have certain needs, and it is important, even local regulations, to understand it. And you can hardly expect it from someone from the other side of the globe.
It's an interesting. I want to come back to that, Kenneth. I think you're going to say something.
Yeah, we tapped into the uncertainty thing, right? So it's operational uncertainty. We see overclassification of data. So people tend to say, "I need to be sovereign." So that, in that way, I'm sure. So we as service providers, we need to acknowledge that I think our entire market is full of small, medium enterprises. They don't go to events like this. They don't go and have teams following up their entire real estate and IT structure and stuff like that. So we need to be better at sort of educating and helping our customers to understand, okay, this is what sovereignty means, and this is what resilience means, and sort of take them on that journey, on the ladder, so to say, that sort of with Seal and ATEA has started, so that we get on a level playing field and use the same terms across the business.
I've got a collection of service providers here. I'm not sure what the collective noun is for it. I'm going to go with cluster because I'm a techie, right? But there's been a reference a lot, and we had a couple of times earlier on today, people talked about federation and how do you federate? Because if we're going to build, there's been talk for 20 plus years about how do we build a European cloud. And it's clear that I think it's clear to me anyway, we're not going to build one big European cloud provider that's going to compete with the hyperscalers. So we have to all get on, we have to agree, we have to interoperate. There's going to be those strengths between, you know, I want to know Norwegian, I want to deal with a Norwegian person. But how do you see us in the longer term interoperating, federating? How do you see that playing out to truly become something bigger than the individual service providers that you are, that, you know, within countries or a couple of countries? Yeah, go on.
Yeah,
how do you do that?
I was in the
Someone.
Hague, the Netherlands, last week in the European Resilience Conference.
Yeah.
In a panel there, and I said I have a dream, and my dream is this federation thought. And I also think I mentioned it in this European Sovereign Cloud Day 2 years ago. Having us cooperating, building a common platform, adding value on top of that, sharing, adding different services from the different vendors here. Because we to compete with hyperscalers, we need to get together and build something together. And we have the capability to do that by sharing a common platform. We can move data, talk about portability, and then we can add our specific solutions on top of that. So yeah, bring it up here again for the third time in a row.
The interoperability is a
Big thing.
Big thing, yeah. Because whether we are able to build confederation, that's difficult, yeah. I think the driver is the market, yeah. But for the technology itself, it is key that the clients, be it from commercial or public sector, choose a technology which is interoperable. And I hear from a daily discussion with clients, they are asking about something which was not used to be always true, and it is an exit plan, yeah. Exit plan. How you, in a case, make sure that I do not end up in a vendor locking situation. Yeah? And I think that's something, if we have the collaboration and cooperation on these aspects, then it's actually different way to think about how this can grow in a unified technological landscape across Europe, interoperability.
I think also what would help us if we could better define, more concrete define, how sovereignty could be measured. So just to not discuss this on a theory level, but also have like some KPIs, some concrete measurements, like, for example, exit capabilities, as you mentioned, for example. Yep. And I think in some years we will have like sovereignty as a service, that you have like a baseline. We don't discuss if something is sovereign or not, but there is like a baseline on sovereignty, and then you can scale this into maximum sovereign environments, maybe like a private cloud in your own data center, so it's completely yours in your building for very critical workloads. And then you can switch from left to right and choose which sovereignty level you adopt on this.
Some would say we already have that, though. We've been talking about it today with the SEAL 1, SEAL 2, etc., and the CADA definitions. I mean, no one's really going to get much past SEAL 2 really at the moment, whilst they're still using, you know, US chips. So there's mitigations for SEAL 3 around US chips, but I'm not sure they really stand up to much scrutiny. And it's the same with the CADA, sort of, you know, not going to get much past levels. But we've got fairly well-defined levels there, I think. But I think the interoperability point's a really good one that you brought up. So what is that unit of interoperability? Is it a VM? Is it a container? Is it a file? Is it an MD file? Is it a YAML file? What's, we've had several projects, one quite major one recently in Europe, trying to build a sort of interoperability standards around cloud, and it's failed. What do you think from the people out there actually doing it, really on the ground talking to customers, what do you think are the kind of things we need to have to make those interoperability pieces work? It's a big question.
Yeah, and I'm a technical guy, and I wanted to say abstraction layer.
Yeah, they're all abstraction layers, right? Yeah,
so if you look at this abstraction layer in the middle, that we have the different, say, call it service providers under, and we can abstract that somehow, like we do with virtualization on the server and the infrastructure level.
Yeah.
Maybe trying to create an abstraction layer for service provider to have one platform that we can collaborate on, and then again, build services on top of that.
One would argue that's kind of what Gaia X was. If you remember, Gaia X was trying to be that, and for various reasons didn't become that. What went wrong, do you think, and what do you think we need to do differently? I'm not just asking you, Roger. There's other people can talk to.
Politics, I don't know.
I would say that our customers, to use the cliche, they buy outcomes, right?
Right.
So us as service providers, if we cannot deliver a unified outcome each time you move your workloads, then we're never going to get there, because that's what is available at the hyperscaler level.
And that's an interesting one, because so far we've been talking a lot, and most of the customers we've been talking about have been commercial customers, would you say? Whereas CADA is very much about public sector, but it's obviously going to come down to commercial. Do you think you're going to have a challenge getting to these right levels of sovereignty to meet CADA when it comes out?
We're already there, I would say, at some degree. We're working on tenders, and we're also delivering services that are more or less covering everything from level 1 to 3 right now. The Norwegian government is one of them. They had a specific tender out there, and we are now building it and architecting it. And they asked for, it was before CADA, but it's basically level 1. It's level 2 and level 3. We have to build a solution that covers all that, and also we need to make sure that Norway can deliver IT services regardless the state of a nation. We have something called the security law in Norway. So it's also a sort of sense of urgency when it comes to resilience. Being able to run Norway as a nation, or even in a crisis and war. And if the government and the king and queen have to evacuate Norway, we also need to be able to do like Ukraine, scale out to the public cloud. So again, utilizing the whole continuum to do that.
So your resilience as a nation looks not only in that context as how do you hunker down when the Russians cut off the undersea lines, but then how do you relocate the whole country as a functioning unit to somewhere else?
It's a specific ask from the customer.
That's really interesting.
Cross-country availability, that's really something in demand in the Nordics, very much.
I would say that, especially for the Nordics, that's a whole new world now with cross-country collaboration.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I mean, the Nordics have always been pretty good at cross-country collaboration anyway.
Yeah, but the two countries were not in NATO, so for many of our
time.
It's not about the collaboration. It's about, maybe it was misunderstood, about the availability. So if you run a business from Finland, as you said correctly, you want to make sure that you have, as part of your resilience plan, business continuity plan, an option. So the demand is really to host the workload in another country and have high availability and ability to switch the workload in a worst case scenario from the country in a minute to another one. And that's quite challenging, but I think we heard, and Victor is there as well, we have it. So that's something which is worth to mention as part
Moritz, is that something ERDIV gets involved in?
Pardon?
Asking Moritz.
Yeah.
Is that something
part of, but from my experience, I don't know if Katharina has a different experience in the German market. It's not that big of a topic.
Not yet.
That we can move workloads from German sites to another country.
Yeah.
It is part of the discussion that we can move workloads within Germany, within 200 kilometers or etc. and above. That's part of the discussion, but not to move them out of the country into another country. So that's not part of the discussion in the German market at the moment.
It brings me on actually with the German market, particularly with things like Stackit, for example, and others there. It sort of starts me to think towards that level 4 that we've been talking about so far today, whether it's CADA level 4 or it's SEAL 4 or whatever. It's that entirely pure European stack with all European software. And let's just ignore the hardware element of SEAL at the moment, just do the software piece. We'll get to the hardware bit. It's almost like that's a long pipe dream if we're going to build everything on RISC-V, you know. But let's get back to the software bit. Do you think that's a reasonable objective within a 3 to 4 year time frame to build that kind of stack that's fully US independent?
I would say it strongly depends on the customer's ability to option A, pay the price for the complete sovereign solution, because it's basically more expensive than what we have at the moment. Or option B, to take some kind of a step back in the functionality aspect, because with some open source tools or other tools, I maybe don't have this kind of functionality and automation in my operation standards that I have right now. So it's some kind of a trade-off in our experience and in my opinion, if we want to use a complete sovereign stack.
Katharina,
I agree completely. It's that whether you focus like on less features or you spend a lot more or you invest a lot more in educated people who can build it and run it and operate it. So I think this is crucial to make that open source thing happen also like in 15 years, because you are dependent then on people and the processes, and you need to spend time and money in that. But it's definitely worth it.
So it's an interesting one to look across the other gentlemen on the panel here. Is it skills that's holding you back from wider open source adoption then? Is it availability of skills, or, you know, because you mentioned that, it was mentioned earlier as well? Not sure.
I can take that one.
If it's a priority,
Pardon?
No one wants to answer, then everyone at the same time. Brilliant. Right, so we'll start with you, Kenneth.
I would like to be honest, because we're
here to be honest.
We're market driven. No requirement, no service. It's as easy as that. And to this day, we haven't seen those requirements at scale. I'm not saying that we're not doing it in our advice part of the business, but not in the service provider part.
So so your part is point basically is no one's asking for it, so you're not building it, right? It's not like Field of Dreams. You're not going to build it and people will appear. You can't afford that, right?
No.
So until something like CADA starts forcing that, you're not going to see it happen. But anyone else, skills thing?
As a skill set, this is in one thing, but it's also sort of a strange thing, because all the new employees we hire each year from the high schools and universities, they have open source competency, but the seniors don't. So when they started at us, we need to reskill them on commercial software packages like VMware or Microsoft or Google or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm planning to actually start now building a competency on more open source, open standards, cloud agnostic tools, building for the future. We're not going to be there in the next 1 to 2 to 3 years, I think, but 3-4 years ahead, I think things will change.
So you're saying the problem's not the young kids, it's the Gen Xers like us?
And I sat here earlier today, where's the young guys?
They were with me yesterday at PlatformCon in London, where I felt like the oldest guy in the world.
But again, they're coming out of school and have on their CVs, they have OpenStack and all kinds of cool stuff when it comes to open source, but we aren't able to utilize that.
Maybe we could say it's like a technical culture shift that will happen. And it's completely natural that there might be some gaps, but it's not really like a gap. It's like, as you said it, where is the demand? So, and we come maybe from long years of using VMware, and the mindset is shifting. So it's not that there is not good enough people out there, but where is the priority, and what is what's the demand in the market, and how does that shift? I think this is like the topic.
So yeah, I mean, it's great because it kind of summarizes that so far today we've been talking about a bunch of really cool future ideas, but that demand hasn't made it through to you folks on this panel yet in reality, right?
Yeah, I agree with Kenneth. We sit each week looking at demands and ask from our customers when it comes to what they want from us, and we haven't seen that demand yet, at least from Norway.
The ones we do maybe see tend towards that. We're unsure if they're willing to do the trade-offs.
Right.
Sort of, I have this super cool technology stack, but it comes with a price. Or if I go that way, it's super cool and it works, but then I'm not sovereign anymore. And then, yeah.
So, I mean, everything comes down to cost and risk in the end. We can have these sort of, religious or CV-based dreams about doing open source or whatever this new future thing is, but actually the risk and cost just pulls them back to actually this is the most cost-effective, least risky option now.
Yeah, it comes back to sort of our generation and above, because at the end of the day, it's the CFO decision and the business who drives what's going to happen. And okay, it's not cool, but it works. Then
maybe to elaborate on that. We need to remind ourselves that we as IT service providers are there for our customers to solve business problems and not just fancy IT architectural designs. So we are there to solve business problems for our customers, generate business value. And when the customer doesn't see the business value in using open source or sovereign solutions or et cetera, because maybe he has then more costs or less functionalities, or he has then go back from fully automated processes to maybe hire more people to handle the technology, then it's simply no option for them, because they are also business companies who have to generate some kind of value at the end of the day.
But wouldn't you say that CADA would help us to sort of show value in resilience going further? Because risk has a price as well.
Yeah, not acting can be right now a very risky situation at the end. But I think the talent question is a very good one. And it can, to a certain level, regardless, we all agree about the availability of the people on the market. I mean, if we would be sitting in the shirts of hyperscaler, we might be saying the same, hey, we don't have a people, or we don't have a specific skills. IT skills, availability of the people, I think it's all the same story for 4 years, and there are still, if I'm not mistaken, from some reports, a couple of million IT specialists missing in Europe. Regardless the platform. But for the client, and that's very important to mention, he is asking, so this is a new type of technology. Yeah, I like it. But will I be able to manage it in the end? Or will interoperability, back to the topic, the other provider later able to manage it? So right now we are at the state where we have so many options. Open source wise, so many options. Kind of focus in a direction, kind of focus on a specific PCs, then discussion and cooperation about absorbing the knowledge. This is what is then converted back to the people, because they will see, hey, this is an option which, if I, young person, invest my skills in, is going to be paid, right? And I'll find a successful career, because this is a technology which is now in Europe becoming popular, and this is a technology which, if I invest my energy to learn, I will have a successful career. So that's one thing. But other thing which the companies can do, investing in the sovereignty, is also, taking as a kind of sustainability target, right? Because if this is a serious thing, and it is serious thing in the Europe, then we should consider upskilling the people in the direction and making it popular, known as a part of social sustainability. That's something which I didn't hear on this forum very much, but I think it is important to mention.
So we're not going to be the European powerhouse of cloud if we don't have the people with the right.
If we don't have the people, right?
Exactly, and I think that point was been made sort of a little bit. I think actually the executive vice president made it kind of just before in her speech, actually a little bit. I think that's there's all these different political angles to it. You're sat in front of a large number of people from different backgrounds, some of them other service providers, but also some people who are involved in making the legislation. There's people online watching, etc. what sort of message would you say that's going to help? Because you're right. Well, I think what we've got to here is that there's a lovely pipe dream around an architectural purist view that would be, is lovely to think of, but it's not real because people aren't willing to pay for it, the skills don't exist, et cetera, et cetera. So something's got to pull them there. Now, regulation and legislation might help with that, but what other things do you think need to happen? Because you guys have to make money, and you have to provide value to your customers, and so you're trying to solve business problems. So what would drive you to look more at those options? I think that's an interesting one to go for here. What would drive you down that road of heading towards CADA level 4 kind of technology where it's all fully open source and it's all fully based on, chips made in Europe, et cetera, et cetera? What would push you down that road?
Well, I would like to say what Roger said, that it's not like we're not doing it.
Yeah.
But we're doing it on a very small scale, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is more, what would it take for us to get that last mile? And I don't have the answer for that.
No, that's cool. I think if you haven't got one, that's fine. But anyone else want to add?
I'm not sure. The options are there, but still it feels like the full commitment is not there to do that as a first priority. Mm-hmm. And maybe the commitment should be not only on the side of the providers and the customers, but also on the government, so that regulations also help there.
Yeah, and they're trying to do that with the CADA standards, forcing public sector to procure in a particular way. Yeah,
all power to push it on any level and to concentrate the investments on that. I think it feels like it's not fully committed by every participant in the ecosystem.
I think what's great to me is we're not up here having a discussion. If I was up here 2-3 years ago, and I have been for many years, we'd be having an argument about what does sovereignty mean. I don't think we have that discussion anymore now, thanks to what's gone on with the procurement frameworks, what's gone on with CADA. So we've not had that conversation about what is sovereignty anymore. We're now, okay, well, how do we get people to care? And how do we get people to get to the right level to care? And what do we need to do that? And how do we go down that journey? Because we all realize, I think, that sovereignty is important to our individual countries and to the EU as a whole. But then how do we actually get people to move faster down that journey? Which is kind of why I started with the question at the beginning around workload placement. And are people actually coming to you saying, I need sovereignty? And I don't think that's quite there yet, is it?
I think we're getting there, and it's a good thing that the customers are starting to talk about the alternatives, because in the past they didn't. The mantra was cloud first.
Yeah.
Things should go to the public cloud. Everybody that sort of argued against that was seen as what are you talking about? And everybody is going to the cloud. So these days the conversation are changing. The customers are listening. Customers are willing to look at alternatives. And as some of the previous speakers today also talked about, you don't get everything. You have to make some compromises. As you move up sort of the robustness ladder, if I should call it that, you have to sacrifice something. But the customers are willing to do that now. So that's the reason for those discussions we are involved with. Trying to identify the right sort of cloud service for the right application.
I think we've heard it referred to a lot. I think it's been that you never been fired if you bought IBM, a few times, which is obviously referring to you never get fired if you buy AWS or Google or Microsoft. I think the interesting thing now is in helping Europe redefine that cloud first includes you guys too. I think that's an important point, right? Because cloud first isn't hyperscaler first. It should be. No. Cloud's important, but it can be a whole choice of clouds. It's not just cloud first, right?
Yeah.
So we've got some time now for questions. If anyone's got questions in the audience here to these people that are actually out here doing it and implementing it, if anyone has any questions, there should be a microphone that moves around. No questions at all? There must be some.
It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up.
Oh. Yeah, so just get the lady with the microphone over to you now. Sorry, there we go. Because you're not quite as loud and shouty as me.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Juliana. I'm from Gaia X.
Hello.
Hello.
Well done.
I'm in the right spot, right?
Yeah.
I believe, Moritz, you mentioned that you don't have a compliance automation solution, and there have been some movements, especially in the work that Gaia X has been doing, directing towards the automation of compliance. But it feels to me like the market is quiet in that space because we don't have that yet. And my question is very basic. How helpful would it be? And what is needed to get more people on board with the building of this? Because I think that is quite essential for building trust in that space of sovereignty. You know who you relate to by automating the process, because otherwise...
so what process are you talking about automating in that then, when you're referring to...
From policy to code, right? So if you're engaging with a partner, you have a digital ecosystem, you're engaging with a partner who is able to access your data, you need to ensure that that partner follows specific protocols. And you have the legal protocols, the law that everyone needs to follow.
Yep.
And you have rules that you set for yourself. I want my supply chain to follow certain cybersecurity protocols, for instance. But that's very lengthy, it's costly. The compliance cost is quite obvious. So automating that process would essentially cut a lot of that space, the time and the effort that is today needed because that automation is not ready yet.
Okay. Anyone?
Yeah, how much knowledge is there about it?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I might surprise you, but I think, I'm not sure about the colleagues here, but it's not something which would surprise us, and the automation is certainly similar to normal standard security, a type of activity we invest in. Yeah? And not only because of the first moment catch up, where you have to find out, hey, here I have kind of in compliance, but also from a long-term perspective, because the clients are facing more and more compliance requirement, and then they need to gather the evidence and provide it to the regulatory body. Yeah, so it is certainly noticed, at least on our side, and the automation, you said it right, is the path forward, because this is lasting, time-consuming, quite people-heavy activity. So on one side, regulation, okay, people have a different opinion, but with NIS2, we see that was the moment which pushed the business forward. When they realized from something which was like a hypothetical scenario, we have a real thing. Yeah, for the sovereignty, as Katharina said, this could be the trigger. Yeah, and compliance, if it grows, it requires an automation, no doubts about it.
Anyone else? No, I think you talked a little bit about supply chain as well. I think DORA covers some of the stuff that you're talking about, particularly in the context of some of the people that I deal with, and it's whether the supplier's already been through the DORA process. And obviously, DORA doesn't apply to all industries, but it has some fabulous best practices and other bits and pieces in there that people love when you actually, it's really weird, but you do get to love DORA when you get to look at it. Ilias will tell you that. He's deeply in love with it. But, you know, those kind of things, I think. So I think actually in that context, it's more finding something like DORA and working out how these people have invested time in that already, how they can build on that. Probably just me answering the question, but yeah. Was there one over here from John? Yeah, sorry. He's deliberately completely the other side of the room for you there. So
We'll meet in the middle.
Oh, look at that. He's moving. That's nice of him. Thanks, John.
There you go. It's the only exercise I'm getting today. It's John Collins from GigaOM, and thank you for a great panel. Simple question is timescales, question mark. So, but I'll break it down in terms of both your timescales and your customer timescales, because obviously organizations are working on 1, 3, 5 year timeframes for their deployments, yada yada, but also you've got to take the time to put stuff in place around what you're talking about. So what can we expect to see in a year's time, in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, and beyond from that point of view?
What do you mean, what can you expect to see?
So what do you think, given a lot of what we've been talking about is speculative, like what do we need? So what do we actually expect to be in place on the supply side sooner and then later? And I don't want to put in I said a year, but that's probably premature.
Yeah.
But then what can we expect to see on the demand side? If we had a pie chart of how many people are adopting, what needs to be deployed, what would the pie chart look like in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time?
So what I suppose is a good one. Thanks, John. It's quite a good one. Is sort of your roadmaps as service providers for the next sort of 2-3 years or so. What are the big things on those roadmaps that you're heading towards? Is that probably a good thing to say in that context? Is there some great big high-scale AI service you're going to launch at ATEA, for example, or whatever it is? That's the kind of question. I start with. You look like you're really keen to answer, Kenneth, so I'm going to start with you.
Well, for us, since we already have sovereign cloud infrastructure for each of those 7 countries we are in, that's not really something that we speculate a lot about. Our workloads can run anywhere. What we have requirements from our customers is finished products to put on top of that, standardized. So I want to run a specific service that creates a specific outcome and similar. Very similar to when you use a hyperscaler. I want to use functions. I want to use the database. I don't want to.
I was going to say, so it's like database as a service, those kind of things. That's so going beyond sort of VMs as a service and containers to that next level.
Yeah, and on the more longer term, maybe we could see a form of container agnostic type of moving workloads. Right. On top of that again. But I think that's going to take some more time.
Okay. Katharina?
I think that still this interoperability is a topic because we offer both sides, like we have a VMware-based offering and also an open source offering. And I see that even if customers want to migrate, still there are like gaps and things to make it more easy and fluffy, so that we will definitely invest in interoperability and also listen to customers what features are needed. Like Moritz said, like what features are critical to if we think like in the nearest future, what the requirements will come with AI and so on. So what to cover on this open source stack to meet the requirements.
So you're going to stand up MCP services and all the other kind of stuff in that context. Yeah. Better.
So I think the interoperability and the diversification of the service, so for a certain workload you have a specific solution. But if you look on our logo, there is a little star, which is the AI. We have it in the name. AI first. So, but it's not always about hosting the model, but also about removing the complexity of AI in a real life for the clients. I think that's something which is very important to mention. It's not only about building some new stuff and reinventing the wheel, but giving the added value to clients through actual adoption of AI in our own doings and therefore removing complexity on their side.
Smoothing adoption process for them as well, definitely.
Yeah, for us, it's basically if we go back to the time frame for it's actually in a 1-year time frame to get as close as possible to a 100% fully automated operationing model for our data centers. Okay. Also with automated connections to the authorities in Germany like BaFin or BSI, etc. So we have then we can fulfill automatically all the reporting regulations we have to fulfill in Germany. That's on the short-term roadmap for us, and then afterwards to more or get the private AI functionalities more integrated in our own operationing model, and also then to our customers, and not just to how can I use Copilot correctly and how can I do a clever prompt in Copilot, but how can I use artificial intelligence in the infrastructure, maybe also in infrastructure as code or in my ITSM process, etc. So that we can focus on that then with the customer together to generate business value or to automate more processes in the service management department, etc. But then to first fully automate our infrastructure operationing model, and then to get to the more fancier things like how can we use AI properly.
Cool. Roger.
I don't usually talk about our roadmap in public, but
No, it's fine.
okay.
Make something up.
We are trying to sort of the framework we do with the sovereign offering that we have done for many years now is also reusing that knowledge and architectural framework into private and air-gapped solutions because we're not only delivering things as a service, we're also enabling customers with their own data centers. So reusing that knowledge is important for us going forward. Automation, like you said, we want to be as good as the hyperscalers when it comes to speed and delivery of services. We still have a way to go there, so that's important for us going forward. And last but not least, AI. Both AI ops for our own, but also delivering AI as a service to the customers.
Okay. Look, I think it's been I want to first of all thank you all for being here and giving your time to be here for this event, and also, being willing to be up here and just take a panel with no agenda, which is what I gave you, which is fantastic. So thank you for playing the game. I think we've been on quite an interesting journey in this panel, but what we've realized is that it's very much coming down to the fact that you're running real sovereign cloud businesses now. You've got to those real sovereign cloud businesses based on customer demand and the demand of the marketplace, not based on some cool idea that you had to build something funky with software that someone might want to use. And the future of that and your interoperability is going to be driven by market demand and customer value, I think, is really the point here, rather than some political will is probably the best way to put it. And so I think there's somewhere in between everything we've heard so far today and what you're doing really on the ground is a middle ground, I think, over the next 2 or 3 years around through CADA and other technologies with consulting with people like yourselves as well. I think we might get to a good place. And I thank you again for your time. So thank you all. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you to our panelists for this very, very insightful conversation, highlighting the practical realities of delivering sovereign cloud solutions in an increasingly demanding policy and regulatory environment, while also demonstrating the innovation that is taking place across Europe's cloud ecosystem.